So, but one thing I want to say is that being in a famine is difficult, but sometimes a famine will cause you to lean and depend on God. When you don't have things going the way you want them to, you may have suffered a loss of family member. You may have gone through a dry spell with your income or anything like that. But that does not mean that the Lord has left you. Sometimes we go through things, it's a setup because in this situation, it looks real bad. We're talking about years and years of going through this and then suffering losses of the family. But in the end, it was a setup for something better. It was a setup for something better. So Bethlehem was the house of bread, but there was a famine in that land. Did not mean that the Lord had left them. So even though they were God's people, they left that land, but it did not mean that things couldn't turn around because in the end, and we're going to be discussing that later on, in the end, things worked out, but it was in God's plan because there was a purpose. There was a purpose. Even God's people face lack, but it does not mean that we need to take things into our own hands and do something the opposite. We still need to be in prayer. We need to speak to the Lord, ask Him to lead and guide us and give us strength. Stay in prayer so that you will be led in the right way. So there was hardship. Remember, there's a famine in the land. That means that it's not just your house. Everybody's going through, everybody's dealing with lack. May not be food, there may not be water. So there was lack. There was lack. But in those times of lack, we have to learn to depend on God. Those times bring us closer to Him. So don't let that time allow you to go farther away from Him, and don't get upset and bitter and angry, but use that time to come closer to Him and ask Him to help you, ask Him to lead and guide you through that time. So, a seed in dry soil looks dead, but hidden growth is still at work. So even though it looks bad, doesn't mean that something is not happening. Something is still happening.